Hi everybody, I'm yoga instructor Alison Schuster, and today we're exploring health and wellness right here at Yoga on Mars. Come and join me. Welcome to Om Sweet Om. Today we're at Yoga on Mars and we're meeting the owner, Maggie Abbey. Maggie, can you tell us why you started the studio?
I wanted to bring in yoga classes for veterans that they didn't have to be charged for. I had searched all around the Pittsburgh area for a studio that would offer some time without charging veterans to come to class, so we could offer them something to help deal with their post-traumatic stress and maybe traumatic brain injury. And nobody was willing to give up the time. So I was driving through Mars one day and found a place, and it turned out they rented it just that day. So we were redirected here, and the place was not what it looks like today at all. When I walked in, it used to be a pole dancing studio, so at least it had some charisma.
Some energy. It had positive energy.
It had positive energy, definitely. But it fell into my price bracket. The landlord was very good about offering a little bit off the rent because I work with veterans. And it fell into place. Everything fell into place. The people that came and helped with the construction of it were friends of mine, and they were all looking for work at the time. So everything, it was like the universe supported it. So we started construction and all the renovation in November of 2015 and opened the doors in the middle of February 2016.
Now, Maggie, I know there was more to the story behind why you opened Yoga on Mars, and I know that this has a special place in your heart. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, my father was a Marine, so my sisters and I were raised more like a platoon than a family. So the military way of doing things has always been part of my life. My son, my oldest, joined the Army in 2004 and did 2 tours, one in Iraq and one in Afghanistan. Came home and did recruiting for a few years, and then he volunteered for another deployment and was killed 4 days after he left home. So losing a soldier has put me into a place in my life that I never expected I would have to be, not just a soldier, but he was my son. So I lost a child, and it's difficult enough to deal with grief. To find a way to have a positive outcome because of it is why I opened this in the first place. It gives me a way to take a tragedy and use it for something positive and continue my own healing, as well as being able to help guys and girls that are coming home that have been through the same situations my son faced that he never talked about. And
do you see some of that healing happening even in his peers that come to the studio, people his age that are dealing with PTSD? Do you see some of that healing beginning to happen?
Oh, I do. I do. After they come for a little while and the initial, this is weird, wears off, they start asking questions.
Because it is interesting to think of big tough Marines coming in to do yoga with us.
You should see some of my big tough Marines that can't bend over and tie their shoes, but I've got them doing yoga. So it's it changes their demeanor, and I send them home to families that are a little softened because dad's not so scary anymore, and mom has a way of handling things without flying off the handle, and it really has. I've seen them light up. I've seen the light come back on. When they first come in, a lot of times there's a dullness to them. They've become numb and a little bit desensitized because the things they've seen are so horrendous. And to ask them to find a way to deal with it and not talk about it here gives them a sense of safety. And we create a secure space for them to practice in without having to worry about darting their eyes around looking for something that they can't explain or understand. They don't need to be hypervigilant. When I have a class, especially military, in a meditation, I offer them the idea that when their eyes are closed, mine are always open. So if anything in the room changes, they have the opportunity to continue to go to ease. Relax to a soldier is a word that doesn't even have a meaning. So we ask them to go to ease. We let their muscles go to ease, their bodies settle down, the brain stops thinking for just a little bit. And I can guide them through a meditation that takes them to different levels of consciousness that they might not be able to reach in their own sleep patterns these days because of all the trauma.
And what has the community response been? Have you seen a positive response from the community?
Oh, most definitely.
In support of the veterans.
Most definitely. I've been teaching veteran classes for free for about 3 years. And since we've been here, we have 1 class a week here and then 2 off-site. And we all keep a donation box on the desk for when people come in. They know that because it's on the website, because it's the reason I opened the studio in the first place, people have been very supportive of it. So we put together a separate bank account from the business itself for the donations last year. And by the time we got to taxes at the end of the year, we had put together about $1,000.
Now, how do you support free classes for veterans? Because I know running a yoga studio is not a cheap proposition. You have to be able to support it. So how do you support the free classes for the veterans?
Well, for right now, it's been coming out of my pocket for a little while, but we opened a nonprofit at the beginning of this year. We're trying to get the board put together and start with the business plan for the nonprofit to be able to offer these classes to different communities, not just Mars. So we'll have a class here. We've already started classes at the Veterans Leadership Program in Pittsburgh, the Strip District, at their offices on Wednesdays. And we got brought into the Butler VA. So we're up there with a class on Monday afternoons. That class has become the most popular, mostly because it's during the day and a lot of the vets that are there are doing other programs and it fits into their schedule and they don't have to take away from their families in the evenings. The class that I have here in the evenings has brought in a couple of students, couple of vets that have been very, very regular, and it fits their schedule and they put it in their week. When they set up their week, they know they're coming here on Tuesday evenings. And we've been able to build some community between the veterans that way.
Tell me a little bit about that, because we know how beneficial yoga can be in our daily lives. How does it help when dealing with PTSD? What's the connection? Why choose yoga over some of the other therapies that might be available to you? What's the positive aspect of yoga for PTSD?
Well, I wouldn't use yoga exclusively. It's not a fix-all, but it certainly does benefit when there's another program for the vet to work through the things that have happened during combat stress. The post-traumatic stress it depends on the war. In World War I, they called it combat fatigue. World War II, they called it shell shock, or maybe it was the other way around. The Afghan and Iraqi wars have brought post-traumatic stress to light. It's been much more investigated, much more researched, and there's an awful lot of scientific evidence that shows different parts of the brain that change size, that change their chemical and physical makeup when they're under stress. Rather than give a science lecture at this point, suffice it to say, yoga and mindfulness, meditation especially, when it's presented as a guided meditation, allows those areas in the brain to go back to their normal states. Not immediately, but a little quicker than quite a bit of other modalities. I know that one of the things I'm most fond of offering yoga and meditation is that we can decrease the amount of medication that a veteran is on when he picks up yoga and meditation as something that becomes part of his routine. So that's a goal for a lot of vets.
I've heard you say so many times in class, skills, not pills.
Skills, not pills.
So being able to find the skills to cope instead of relying on medication would be a wonderful thing.
A coping mechanism, things that they can draw on when they're on their own, when a situation comes up that they find that they're distressed over. And it's not just for veterans, anybody who's gone through some sort of trauma. The interesting thing is, I think as a society, most of us have faced something in our life that keeps repeating itself in our mind, whether it's in the dreams or when there are triggers in your life, something comes up, a situation occurs, and you find yourself reverting to a reaction instead of a response, something that happens quickly, that given some time to think about it, you may have chosen to handle it differently. When it comes to veterans, a lot of what's happening is price that a family is paying. because the veteran went through some things that the family doesn't necessarily know about. The vet doesn't talk about the things that happened. My father had post-traumatic stress. Not that I knew that when we were growing up. It was just trying to deal with a dad that had a hair trigger. And later on, you know, since I started becoming really familiar with working with military communities through some training that I took to be able to teach veterans yoga and meditation, the Warriors at Ease program brings a really complete picture of the honor code that veterans learn before they finish boot camp, the way they act and react to orders that are given. They always respond with respect to their command. Bringing them into a yoga class allows us to kind of, I don't want to say change their thinking, but allow them a different avenue to go down when something comes up.
Maybe
and it's an issue.
Perspective, a new way to think of
a new perspective, a new way to respond, so that they don't necessarily have to talk about the things that happened, which is why the yoga and meditation classes are so great. They come here, they deal with their issues specifically without ever having to tell the story. So it's interesting that they start to calm down. They start to find that they've got better sleep, that their aggression and their anger isn't so easily triggered. They can think their way through things these days. The consistency that happens when a class is attended on a regular basis.
Do you think that this extends to the families as well? Can yoga and meditation help those trying to help someone with PTSD?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons the studio has been successful to this point, I believe, because we want to be able to support the families as well. Initially, we offered free classes to the veterans and their spouses or caregivers. Revenue kind of asked me to rethink that a little bit. So we still offer free classes to the veterans, even if it's not just the yoga class that's specifically for military. We can move into bringing them to other classes, and they have a specific package that's separate than what's offered to the general public. Because we find, especially in this community here, I live here, I listen to people's voices, I hear their opinions, I've watched them at the polls voting, and it's a grateful community. So they've offered monetarily to be able to support the veterans here, but they also offer with enough respect to know that there is a military class once a week, and civilians don't come. When they ask about it, if I explain it to them in simple terms, that we want to be able to offer something for the vets that's just theirs, it gives them a little bit more of a feeling of community, that they're supporting it somehow.
So of the classes, there are classes just for veterans, but there are also classes for the public here at Yoga on Mars as well.
I think we have 15 classes a week right now on the schedule. And we have all shapes and sizes, people of all kinds of abilities. We're getting ready to put together some classes for kids.
Fantastic instructors.
Yes, I do have the best teachers.
We do.
We really good take care of each other, and people step in when somebody else needs to step out for whatever reason. It's been an adventure. I never thought I'd open another business, but it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be.
But what an amazing journey to open it here and to do what you do. If someone wants to get involved, and I know a lot of people have come to our classes just to be a part of the yoga classes, but we've also had people who just want to come to donate, to help out what you're doing here with the veterans. Where should they go to do that? Can they stop by here at the studio to do that?
They can stop by here at the studio if they have the class schedule, because a lot of times we're not here in the middle of the afternoon if there isn't something happening. But on the website, yogaonmars.com, they can make a donation, they can check out the class schedule, find out when we're here. There's always a box on top of the desk that takes anything, and we put it into another account. We opened the nonprofit Healing for Heroes' Hearts at the beginning of this year, and it's just getting set up. So we'll be doing fundraisers and events to be able to support these classes so that we can, eventually start paying more teachers so that we can reach out into the community a little bit further.
Well, we're really hoping that you're going to have us back, because I know we could have many more conversations about Yoga on Mars and all of the wonderful programs that we have here. So thank you, Maggie.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
I'm grateful that you came to talk to us today. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And we'll meet you on the mat in a couple minutes. Come join me.
Armstrong's Healing Heroes aims to donate 5 dogs to area veterans suffering from PTSD, seizure disorders, and more, in conjunction with Guardian Angels medical service dogs. Here's how to help. Visit your local Armstrong office to make a donation, or go to www.medicalservicedogs.org and choose Armstrong as the designation. You can also mail donations to the address on your screen. For more information, visit us on Facebook. Together, we can unleash the power to heal.
Let's start out in child's pose. Knees as wide as the mat, gently pressing the hips back to the heels, bringing the forehead to rest on the mat, and just taking a couple of minutes to come into the breath. Finding that deep inhale and exhale. Today we're going to be working on sun salutations. The Sanskrit word for sun salutation is Surya Namaskara. Surya meaning the sun. Namaskar meaning to bow down. So quite literally, a sun salutation is to bow down to the sun. For thousands of years, the sun has symbolized light. The external light in the world around us, but also the light within, the light of consciousness, of self-awareness. We use them at the beginning of our yoga asana practice to provide energy to the body and beginning to bring a little bit of that light to the mind. Continuing that nice deep inhale to the chest all the way down to the belly. Long exhale. Setting the intention for our practice today to adore the sun, to embrace its light and its energy. Taking these last moments of centering to bring that attention to the heart center, using the breath to connect the heart and mind. And on the next inhale, rising up to your tabletop posture. Shoulders above the wrists, hips above the knees. And just continuing our breath with a couple of rounds of cat-cow. On the inhale, lift the chest, gaze forward. On the exhale, press into your mat, round the spine. Inhale, drop the belly, gaze forward. Exhale, press into the thumb and index finger, rounding up. See if you can continue that nice long breath you created in child's pose. And let the breath decide when you switch between cat and cow. Allow the belly to relax on the inhale. On the exhale, draw the belly in. Take the belly button towards the tailbone. Inhale, lifting the chest a little higher. Exhale, rising up. Then on the next inhale, coming to a neutral spine, put your gaze between your two hands and extend the right leg behind you, toes pointed down. Press through the heel, bringing that left arm up to the top of the mat or all the way up, cat stretch balance. Take a deep breath in, hold the belly button stationary, and on the exhale, radiate out from the core, reaching with your hand, pressing through the heel. Deep breath in, reaching out. One more deep breath in. Taking that posture as far as you can and bring it back to tabletop. Extend the left leg behind you, toes pointed down. Press through the heel. Bringing the right arm up, top of the mat or all the way forward, cat stretch balance. Take a deep breath in. Reach for that object just outside your grasp. Press that heel into the imaginary wall behind you. Another deep breath in. Really reaching. One more breath and slowly bring it back to tabletop. Tucking the toes underneath behind you and pressing back to downward facing dog. Walking the feet out in down dog. Shifting from side to side. Inhale up onto the balls of the feet. Exhale, gently press the heels towards the back of your mat. Inhale up. Exhale, release. Gazing between your two hands, step, hop, or jump to the top of your mat. Deep sun breath in. Exhale, hands to heart center. Beginning with one Om. Take a deep breath in. Om. Hinge at the hip. Follow that vibration all the way down. Forward fold. Inhale, hands to shins. Halfway lift. Exhale, release. Forward fold. Inhale, hands to shins. Halfway lift. Exhale, release. Forward fold. Placing those hands on the mat, step the right foot back into plank. Left foot steps back to meet it. Elbows come tight into the rib cage, lower to low, scooping up and pressing back. Downward facing dog. Inhale up onto the balls of the feet. Exhale, release. Inhale up. Exhale, release. Gazing between your two hands, step, hop, or jump, top of the mat. Deep sun breath in. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Inhale, right leg steps back, crescent lunge. Exhale, release, humble warrior. Arms down alongside, deep inhale all the way up, warrior one. Exhale, open up, warrior two. Flipping that left palm up to the ceiling, lean out over the left leg, reverse your warrior. Deep inhale, reach for the ceiling, open the rib cage. Exhale, cartwheel down to the mat. Step the 2 feet together into plank, down through chaturanga. Scooping up, cobra. Press back, downward facing dog. Inhale up onto the balls of the feet, fill the lungs. Exhale, release. Inhale up. Exhale. Spilling out. Gazing between your two hands, step, hop, or jump, top of the mat. Deep sun breath in. Exhale. Hands come to heart center. Inhale, left leg steps back, crescent lunge. Exhale, release, humble warrior. Arms down alongside, deep inhale. Warrior one, reach for the ceiling. Exhale, press it down. Warrior two. Flipping the right palm up, lean out over the right leg. Create a little space. Reverse your warrior. Deep inhale. Reach for the ceiling. Exhale, cartwheel down to the mat. Step those 2 feet together into plank. Elbows tight into the rib cage, lower to low, scooping up. And pressing back, downward facing dog. Inhale up onto the balls of the feet, deep breath. Exhale, release. Inhale, up. Exhale, release. Gazing between the two hands, step, hop, or jump, top of the mat. Deep sun breath in. Spread those fingers out nice and wide. Open the chest. Exhale, hands to heart center. all the way down. Forward fold, reach for the toes. Inhale, hands to shins, halfway lift. Exhale, release, forward fold. Inhale, hands to shins, halfway lift. Exhale, release, forward fold. Deep sun breath in all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us at Yoga on Mars today. Let's take our hands out to either side of the body and a deep breath in. We exhale, hands to heart center. In a moment of gratitude for our practice and our time together today, find the light within you and take it out into the world. Namaste.